Bond. James Bond.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 22nd episode of Shakin and Not Stirred, where we dig into James Bond flick every single week or every other week. But now we're on every week. So, Adam, how you doing tonight?
I am doing okay. How are you doing?
Doing good. Excited to talk about this movie, considering it is fresh in my mind. I watched it last night. It's been it's been a long time since I actually watched it, so I was actually pretty excited to sit down and watch it. So excited to dig into that. What have you been watching?
Well, this past week, let's see. I just told you I just finished watching Clue, which I'm wearing the shirt. Though it was not related, though. I had no idea Clue was on when I put this shirt on after my.
Gotta get this shirt on for this.
Yeah, I put the shirt on. I go out there. I turn on Pluto, and all of a sudden Clue's on. I'm like, oh, how about that? Got to leave that on. I watched. Let's see. I did watch Quantum of Solace this past week, and my fiance watched it with me, and she liked it as well, and which is good. I'm getting her into the Bond movies slowly. And the other night, or last night actually, I watched The Magnificent Seven, the original one from 1960.
Oh, we can't go wrong with that movie.
But that's pretty much it. Other than that, I'm watching basketball.
Did you tune into the Oscars at all?
No,
I
never do.
Never have, or just haven't lately?
I haven't ever since Daniel Day-Lewis lost the Best Actor when he was in Gangs in New York. I was like, I'm done with this. Click out. And it's been fun. I was really happy though that one battle after another won Best Picture.
It's a great movie.
It definitely deserved it. I thought it was the best movie. So
very, very, very good movie, and obviously Paul Thomas Anderson. You're in great hands with him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, very cool, dude. But let's get started here and jump right in here to Quantum of Solace, since it is fresh in our memories. Why don't you catch us up here?
Well, first of all, before we do any of this, let's wish a happy 90th birthday to Ursula Andress, the first Bond girl, Honey Rider. She is 90 years old today. I saw that in some social media. I was like, oh, how about that? So I want to wish her a happy 90th. Hopefully she is doing well. So Quantum of Solace. Casino Royale ended up being a big success. And people who were not on the Craig bandwagon, most of them were now on the Craig bandwagon. So it was very successful. It was the most lucrative Bond film up to that point. And now they're ready to, make round two with them. The only issue is there is a looming writer's strike. And that affects some of the writing, the production, which I'll get into in a minute. This film had a budget of about $200 million. And domestically, it did around $168 million. And worldwide, it did about $589 million. So it was also a very successful movie. And in an hour, it's like just around an hour and 40 some odd minutes. It is the shortest runtime of any Bond film there is. So, but that has something to do with the writer's strike as well. So this one, they brought in Mark Forster to direct the film, kind of at the behest of Daniel Craig, who was a friend of his, or worked with him or what. But Forster did World War Z, Christopher Robin, Finding Neverland, Monsters Ball, to kind of give you an idea of some of the stuff that he's done. And they kind of wanted to keep the things on an even keel of Casino Royale. They kind of wanted the same type of production. So with him, they hired, I'm just going to, because I wrote this down because I want to make sure I didn't get any of this incorrect. Dan Bradley was hired as a second unit director on the basis of his work in the Bourne Supremacy. And I mentioned last episode, this was kind of they wanted this series kind of go more toward that direction of the Bourne series. So this movie would have continued the contemporary action style of kind of the Bourne series itself that they started doing in Casino Royale. Alexander Wood, the second unit director of Casino Royale, was also a second unit director in the Bourne Identity itself too. So both of these films had a second unit director that were involved in Jason Bourne movies. And you can tell, like, definitely in the action sequences of fighting, the hand-to-hand combat sequences in particular, it's very reminiscent of what the Bourne movies are. But like I said, I mentioned that last episode, but they did continue that on in this film as well. So, and I wanted to mention this film, it was 2008, so it's about 2 years after the other one. So we're kind of back on track of like every 2 years for a Bond movie at this point. Now, writing the film was it was a kind of a strange story. So this is a direct sequel of Casino Royale. And when I say direct, I mean it happens immediately after Casino Royale.
It does.
So it's the only Bond movie that's really like that. And even going forward, it's the only Bond movie that takes place instantly after the previous one ended. They'd never done anything like that before up to that point. And it was kind of a risk doing it because it's never been done. But this whole series with Daniel Craig was kind of all about doing things differently than they did before. So the original story, though, wasn't really supposed to be a direct sequel. But with the writer's strike looming, it gave them, like, there were great time constraints on getting this script out and getting it moving. So they said, what was to continue the story that we're doing? It'll be easier to write, and we can get a script in and everything before the strike happens. And Paul Haggis, who was responsible for the final draft, basically got his draft of this film in like at the 11th hour before the writer's strike happened. Ooh. So I mean, it was like last minute. So that's a big reason why, not a big reason, it's probably the sole reason why this movie is as short as it is. Now, the reception of this film was kind of cold, critically, and from fans, themselves too. But that was, I think, because it was coming off the heels of such a well done film like Casino Royale that it just wasn't going to live up to what that was. Now, I haven't heard anyone really say, I hate Quantum of Solace, but I don't hear many people say they really like Quantum of Solace. I am a Quantum of Solace apologist. I like the movie quite a bit. And there are some things about it that could definitely be better. Like the editing's kind of crappy in this movie, especially during some of the fight sequences and things like that. A lot of times, like during chases and such, you're not quite positive what is going on. There's a scene when he brings Mr. White in to see M, and they're going to interrogate him, where it almost looks like M gets shot, and she really doesn't. But the way it's cut looks like she gets shot. So just little things like that. So the production itself was a little bit chaotic, but I still think what they got out of this at the end was very positive, at least in my opinion. So obviously Daniel Craig is back for this film. And with him, Judi Dench is returning as M as well. The main Bond villain in this film is Dominic Green, and he's played by Matthew Almaric, who is now I believe a Wes Anderson guy. And so I liked him as a villain in this film. He was kind of the guy who you would think it was like the nerdy kid in school who kind of,
I see that.
You know what I'm saying? Like he even said himself, like the way he fought at the end of the movie, where he's screaming and throwing like stuff around, like he pulled the axe, like that's how a kid would fight.
Oh yeah,
doesn't know how to fight. So he really kind of leaned into it, and he looks like a villain. I mean, the guy's got eyes like of a villain.
Right.
And so basically, he's a member of the group Quantum, who Mr. White's a member of, who you kind of first met in Casino Royale, and it's a whole different story with this one. When I say it's a continuation of Casino Royale, it doesn't really lean quite into the story of him and Vesper as much as people probably wanted. You get more of that, basically more of that resolution and more of that kind of, like that happens kind of at the end of the movie. So you get some closure there. But Olga Kurylenko plays the main Bond girl who you see right here. Her name is Camille, who I love Olga Kurylenko in this movie. I think her character is pretty awesome. And I think she, to me, is one of the most attractive Bond girls in the entire series. And she's also the only Bond girl, the main Bond girl, who doesn't sleep with Bond. And it's kind of weird, but it's like I said, the Daniel Craig series is different from the other ones. They're going to try different things. Jeffrey Wright is back in this film as Felix Leiter. And then you had with him, you had a very young David Harbour, who no one really knew who David Harbour really was because Stranger Things and such hasn't come out yet, which when he blew up. I think Stranger Things came out, was it 2012-ish? I want to say it started.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
Around there. I could be wrong on that. But that's kind of when his start is
He's ridiculous in this movie with that mustache. He's ridiculous.
Yeah. But I think he's great.
A good ridiculous.
He is such a sleazy agent.
That's what I mean.
And playing opposite of him with, Felix Leiter's with him, but he's just got the total opposite demeanor as David Harbour's character, Greg Beam. Pretty much Felix Leiter is just sulking the whole movie. Like any scene he's in, he is just like looking like he does not want to be there. He is upset. Because there's underhanded dealings going on with the CIA and Dominic Green, who is a member of Quantum, and his whole cover is this. He's part of an environmentalist group, and they're buying up tracts of land, and the Americans and most people think, and the MI6 does as well, think are trying to get oil out of it. And there's no oil there, they keep saying, but they keep building pipeline for it. I think kind of as a diversion, but you find out later on they're after the water. They're actually after natural resources all over the planet. And water is obviously probably the largest resource commodity in the world. So they're trying to control that in certain areas where it's kind of, this is in Bolivia. So it's very arid. And if they can control something like that and make money off of it, and that's kind of what they do. They're a criminal organization. Anyway, so this movie kind of opens with an action sequence, a car chase. It's a great car chase. It's I think it's pretty awesome.
I like the opening of this movie quite a lot.
Yeah, it just kicks you right in the face immediately. And then not long after that, when they're interrogating Mr. White, you have an on-foot chase after that of the agent who was in Quantum but had infiltrated MI6, which actually I think he was in MI6 first, because like M said he was like her bodyguard for like 8 years or something. So, and I think Judi Dench is awesome in the first part of this film, because like the way she goes off the rails after she finds out that this guy was working for Quantum. She's like, "What do you mean they're everywhere? I can't believe this. This guy worked for 8 years." And like she's like just yap. It's almost like she's like not being M for a minute. She's almost like being a human being. It's like just kind of flipping out over it, like a normal person's reaction. She says something like, "There's people say, we have people everywhere. People say that. Florists say that." She just starts saying this shit like that. So it's just funny how she reacts to it. And she's kind of a real bright spot in this movie. And she's out in the field, and there's different scenes that she's in. I think all of them are good. Her rapport has really gotten a lot better with Daniel Craig. And it lasts, through this movie and then into Skyfall as well. But anywho, so the other Bond girl, who's kind of a smaller role, is Gemma Arterton. She plays Agent Fields. His real name is actually Strawberry Fields.
Ooh.
And it's never uttered in the film. He does ask her, "What's your first name?" And she says, "Just Fields," because she knows, she doesn't want that getting out there. Her first name is Strawberry. But I think she's kind of just a plot device for someone for Bond to sleep with, since he wasn't going to be doing that with Camille. And then also on top of that, they paid the nice homage to Goldfinger by having her being laying on the bed murdered and just covered in oil rather than gold paint from Goldfinger. But it's the exact same scene. She's laying in the exact same position. So it kind of brought her in just to kind of do something like that. So it was kind of ridiculous if you think about it, because M gets all pissed off at Bond, and she's like, "Why her, Bond? She was just a clerk." And she was like, "Well, why the hell did you send a clerk to send him back? Let's send the most attractive person at MI6 or whatever, who's got no experience in the field apparently, to go fetch Bond and bring him back. Like, that's a great idea. So it was either she was made a gross error in judgment, or she really didn't want Bond to come back. She kind of wanted her to go see what he was up to, or something of that nature. You can't really tell, but it's really kind of pointless. Like, if that was the case, to send her to retrieve him, because he had absolutely he had just no plans of returning or anything, and she didn't deter him whatsoever. The great thing about Bond in this movie too is kind of his indifference about everything. He kills so many of his leads, and M's trying to tell him, quit, we need these people alive. Oh, he killed them. Even at the opera scene, when he knocks that guy off the roof, that guy doesn't die. He falls on the car, and Dominic Green has his guy go out and shoot him and kill him. So when M's like, hey, you killed a member of Special Branch who was guarding somebody. You need to come in here. And he doesn't even mention, hey, wait a minute, I didn't shoot him. He just goes along with it. He's like, well, who's he working for? Who's he guarding? And then, he just kind of goes on about his business. Like, he just doesn't care. His buddy Mathis, who returned to this movie, Giancarlo Giannini, plays Rene Mathis, and he's been between films, I guess, or during some point here, he's been exonerated of his accusations that he was the leak, and he, was working with Le Chiffre. So to make up for it and all that, they kind of gave him a villa out in Lake Como, or not Lake Como, it's in a different place, but it's in Italy on the coast. And so Bond goes and visits him, and he helps Bond out too. But even when he meets his demise, Bond kind of chucks him in the dumpster, saying, he wouldn't mind.
That was the part I was kind of really. He's like, yeah. She's like, really? Is this where you're gonna leave him? He's like, yeah. He wouldn't mind.
No, you probably would. I mean, these agents kind of know, like, they're expendable people, and things like that happen. They die in the field and stuff, and it is what it is. Kind of, once you're dead, you're dead. What's the matter? What happens to you after you're dead? So it was kind of, like I said, Bond's indifference to, like, the violence, the killing. Even when he kills that guy at the beginning, this first lead, I mean, he cuts this guy, and then he raises his arm and then twists it and just doesn't even look at him. He kind of waits for this dude to bleed out. Like, it's just so cold. And he's like, whatever. And then, like, he's a very act first, think later, like react first, think later. You can tell by the way when he stole a motorbike and he got on the docks and he's chased after Camille and General Medrano, who's there.
That was a good part.
He just smashes that boat into the side of theirs. You see him just flip over into it.
That was awesome.
Like, it was cool as hell. He's got no plan.
No.
He just smashes into it and says, well, let's see what happens now. And Camille was actually trying to get on that boat so she could kill Medrano, because that's the guy who raped her mom and sister and killed her.
Well, it's funny. They start fighting each other once he rescues her or whatever, and it's good.
Yeah, they're fighting for control of the boat and everything. Yeah. He's like, but I mean, you find out later she works for Bolivian Secret Service, but you can kind of tell she does, but she's also very she seems to be a very green agent. So I don't know, but like, this movie, the good thing about this movie too is it's not long, but it is shot, I think, besides some of the editing, the cinematography of this movie is fantastic. Like, some of the stuff they did in this film, some of the cuts they did, I said, man, this is such a step up from even Casino Royale. I love the scene when they're at the opera, when they're seeing Tosca, and the members of Quantum are there, and Bond kind of infiltrates that, listens to what they're saying, and then he makes his little comment, you guys really should find another place to meet.
Cinematography is key. If you don't have good cinematography, that's what I think my biggest problem with Die Another Day was.
Oh, yeah.
Cinematography wasn't the best.
They didn't really put much care into it. And the thing is, the older Bond films didn't so much either.
No, but these are beautiful because of it.
They are. So it gives it something extra that the other ones don't have. See, that's a great shot, Dominic Green, right there, because if you look at him, He's got like this almost like black eyes.
I
It reminds
love
me.
his
It reminds me of
last scene
Quint.
in the movie. I think it really sums up him as a whole.
It reminds me of Quint telling the story about telling about sharks that have like black eyes, doll's eyes, and stuff. It kind of just reminds me of that. But he's just he's a megalomaniac, and you know he thinks he knows that Camille was a leak, and she was using him just to get to General Madrano, and so he tries having her killed, and but then he kind of he feels like, well, like he's like, I just felt bad about it too, but that's what I'm saying. Like, it's just this guy's so he's indifferent in a different way that Bond is. And his henchman is a guy named Elvis. This is one goofy bastard henchman. He's got a hairpiece. He has a belt buckle with a little heart on it. And I mean, it's implied that he's homosexual. They never actually say it, but it's just implied that way. I mean, even like when he's at the opera and he turns around, looks at the other henchman, he kind of gives this little weird smirk. It's like, what the was that? It's like, what was that? And this guy stares at him as deadpan, like doesn't make a move at all or anything. But anyway, back to the opera scene. The opera scene's awesome because not only the cinematography, so I think the sound's great in this. So he tells people he says, I think people should find another place to meet. So all these members of Quantum start popping up one after the other and walking away. And he's getting pictures of all of them, except for Mr. White. He's really trying to tail Mr. White, if you think about it, because he's the one that escaped, their custody. And he doesn't realize that Mr. White is at that opera. And you see Bond even walk up the stairs on the side, and Mr. White just stays sat down. He doesn't get up and draw attention to himself because he's the only smart one of the whole group, apparently. But Bond walks right by him up the stairs. Doesn't realize it. And then the best part, I think, is when he's going, and Dominic Green's coming down the stairs, and they kind of lock eyes. And then Dominic Green kind of gives a motion to go get him real quick. And then the sound goes silent. And all you hear is this diegetic sound. So you just hear the Tosca opera. And you see Bond running, and there's like a gunfighting going on, but then you hear some guns and things like that. I kind of wish they cut all the noise out of that and just let the opera go, and you see what is basically ensuing, but just with Tosca in the background, up until he knocks the guy off the roof. But that was just a cool scene. It's something you never saw in like other Bond movies before. So I always thought that was kind of neat. But other than that, still the editing in that scene was kind of real. It was real quick and choppy. And that's just because, like I said, it's this crew was thrown together, the script was thrown together, and they had to kind of
reminds me of when a band goes into the studio and records 2 albums worth of stuff, and they wait a while to release the second one. It's still great because it's from the same sessions. It's just not as good as the actual album, but some of these songs could have made the real album. I mean, they're better than what's on Casino Royale. I like some of the shots in this movie.
Yes, there's some shots in this movie that do take a step up from the film. Now, by no means am I saying it's a better movie than Casino Royale.
No.
But they did what they could with what they had the time they had. I think they did pretty well. So, I mean, even Daniel Craig, I think, helped in some of the editing. He said he would never go through that again, but he had to be a part of it, and they had to really edit this quickly, which is why you see some of those mistakes probably. I would love to see if there was another draft of this, or if there's like a deleted scene special feature on something that we just haven't seen yet that can provide us some more context, or like, because there's some things when they're in the airplane, I'm talking the prop job airplane getting chased down by a jet fighter, which somehow they survived that. Like that scene kind of just draws out for me. I kind of wish it was a little bit quicker because you could have added some other stuff in. But I mean, other than that, I don't have many like qualms with it.
I liked Bill Tanner, his character.
Yeah, Bill Tanner they really kind of fleshed him out this one. Like he's the one. It seems like he's at M's beck and call. He is always there. Like when he's at the opera and he's sending those pictures of everybody, you see Tanner. He has this great, this look, and his interested look where he's just staring at the screen and getting all these names and getting all this information, these people's pictures, and
really?
bringing it all up for M.
ironic, real quick here, is there was a really good show on Showtime. It might be on Netflix now. It was called Penny Dreadful, and it had him
Oh
and
yeah,
Timothy.
Ava Green. Ava Green's in that, wasn't she?
Yeah, I think you might be right here. I'm gonna look that up. But Rory Kinnear was in it, and he played Frankenstein. Did a very, very good job. If you've never seen that show, I definitely suggest watching that one.
He was also in an episode of Black Mirror on Netflix.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a pretty crazy episode. But yeah, he's in that. But yeah, it's the characters in this movie I think are pretty good. Besides Gemma Arterton's character, which is just basically sleeps with Bond, goes to a party with them, then gets murdered. Other than that, like the other ones in this film, I think are pretty good. They all kind of hold their own, and they get a decent amount of screen time. I wish you got a little more Felix Leiter, but he served his purpose for it, and he does kind of help Bond toward the end in that bar. And he looks so cool. He's just smoking that cigar and just drinking. Like when this whole gunfight's going on, he's just chilling at the bar, still finishing what he's doing. But other than that, in the set at the end with the hotel in the desert, it's not supposed to be the Bolivian desert, but that was actually filmed in a desert in Chile, and it's actually the most arid place on Earth. It is the driest place on the entire planet. I heard the number there, Deb. I forgot what it was. How long it's been since I've actually had any rain or anything, any precipitation.
Not good.
But the hotel that's out there that they're in at the end is actually a hotel for astronomers.
Really?
Because there's basically out there, like astronomers go out there because it's so dry and there's nothing out there. But there's no lights, there's no pollution, there's no nothing. They get such a clear shot of the sky than many other places on Earth. And that hotel itself is specifically made for them. So it's kind of cool they found that and put that in the movie. It kind of reminds me like in GoldenEye when they had the big dish. And that's actually a dish for, astrophysicists and astronomers and stuff to use. And it really does exist. They kind of went that way here too. The ending of this movie is pretty wild too. Like that hotel, like I don't know why they have all this explosive stuff in that hotel, but everything blows up. There are so many explosions. I don't know how that hotel is even still standing at the end of that thing.
This movie it's like one giant explosion.
It is. It's the movie starts with like 3 action sequences, just boom, boom, boom. Then it kind of slows down. You get a little more exposition of what's going on. Then you get a little more into the story. Then you have another action scene. Then there's a little more story. Then like a huge one at the end. So it's like like I said, it just kicks in the face immediately. Then it kind of dials back a bit, and I like it more when it dials back. The action's cool, but I don't want to see just a Bond film which is straight action at times. Yeah, the action movie is an action movie. You need some little substance behind it. But I think Camille's character, I like the depth of her character, like her motivations and what she was willing to do, and the fact that she kind of like at the very end, Bond kisses her, and that was kind of, I don't know if she pushes off or whatever, but she's even like, nah, we're both kind of fucked up, so that's not, and then she kind of walks off. But I think she was terrific in this film, and actually Gal Gadot or Gadot, however she pronounces her name, actually auditioned for that role, but did not get it. But I don't know. Like she would have been good too, but I don't think she'd have been any better than Olga Kurylenko.
No, I think she did a good job.
No, I think she
did. I was watching the movie. That was one of my first questions I wanted to ask you is what did you think this was a step up, about the same from the last movie in the Bond girl department?
It's probably not a step up because Vesper's character is so integral to
same or a little bit down. What do you think?
Probably a little bit down. Because she's not as big to the whole Craig saga as Vesper is, and I don't know. It's Camille was kind of a one-off character, where Vesper was also a one-off character, but she's also talked about in many films after. So she had a great effect on him and why he was like he was in this movie, the following movie. I mean, all sorts of a lot of it went even the very last movie. whose grave does he go to? He goes to Vesper's. She's a big part of this. So she, it's probably a little bit of a step down, but not because of the performance of Olga Kurylenko. It's just because that's the way the character was written. So that's basically the only thing. Musically, David Arnold did a great job with the score again. I can't say enough about David Arnold. And I loved it. The opening Bond theme, my brother just mentioned it. He said that he likes the song a lot. I really don't.
Song.
I don't like it all that much.
This is about where we're gonna have our only disagreement, and I knew because honestly, I hadn't really heard the song before until I watched the movie. But I have the other one you sent me, which I thought was good too. I didn't think it was bad. This one here. We're gonna play a little bit of it here.
Yeah.
Can't play too much of it, but again,
well, if people get a chance to, is that on YouTube?
Yep.
Okay, it's a Shirley Bassey version of Quantum of Solace song, and it's I think it's awesome. I think it's better than this song.
No.
I do. Now this, what's weird about this song? If the first notes of this song, it almost sounds like the beginning of Casino Royale, like how they both start out. But and then
having Jack White and Alicia Keys at the time is pretty huge. Bringing Shirley Bassey back, I mean, you're retreading the waters here.
I just wouldn't have brought both of them on. You put Alicia Keys and Jack by themselves because the chorus sounds just like so convoluted with both of them singing it. It doesn't sound.
Your brother likes it. I'll go with him.
Okay, go with him. But anyway, so Paul McCartney actually turned down the offer to write a new James Bond song for this movie.
Really?
Yeah,
that's pretty huge.
And he recommended Amy Winehouse. So they're gonna have Amy Winehouse do it, but then personal issues with her, going to rehab or God knows what. They couldn't use her. So they kind of, I think they got Jack White and Alicia Keys kind of almost in the last minute as well. But yeah, the song didn't really, I don't know, it didn't make it for me so much. Like I said, it wasn't horrible. Like I'm not like
blasted it before we came on here because honestly, it sounds like a Jack White song. It does not sound like an Alicia Keys song. But she does sing on it. And she does an okay job. I think it could have just been a Jack White song, and I would have been okay with that.
Yeah,
but
they both sound so similar too in the song. Sometimes
they
it's
do.
almost
They actually do
confusing.
I will give you that. Their voices don't sound too dissimilar.
So that's why I think just if one of them did it, it would have been a little bit better. But whatever. It's hardly something that I'm going to be like, it's terrible and it brought the movie down. It didn't.
You like Chris Cornell better?
I do like the Chris Cornell song better, yeah. But I mean, this song is definitely better than like I don't know, some of the other songs like the Math of Gold.
Better than Die Another Day.
Anything's better than Die Another Day. It's better than it's better than the Spectre theme. It's better than it's better than a lot of them, but not a lot of it. It's better than some of them, but it's not bottom of the barrel. But it just didn't quite make it for me.
Okay.
But anyway, this movie was filmed in a crap load of locations. It was pretty cool how they jumped back and forth too. So at the beginning of the movie, they're still in Italy. So in Europe, and then it goes to Haiti, and it goes back to Europe, and then it goes to Bolivia, and then at the very end of the movie, it's kind of cool because towards the end of the when you're at the hotel, that's supposed to be Bolivia, and then at the very end of the movie, when he catches up with Vesper's ex-boyfriend, you see snow on the ground everywhere. It's the exact opposite. So it's kind of cool how they kind of basically switch locations and use polar opposites throughout the movie. The sets are pretty cool. I liked the hotel that Bond and Strawberry Fields were staying in. That was an awesome set piece. The hotel was a cool set piece. Mattis's house was pretty awesome. Where the opera was a floating opera, where that was held and filmed was cool. So that was all pretty well done. And I wish the movie could have been 20 minutes longer. It'd been probably it would have been a little bit better, maybe a little bit better received. But
Yeah, I mean, honestly, they just needed something to level out some of that action, I think. As you
yeah,
said, a
they
little bit
really.
more talking points, some more knowing what's going on points.
But the problem too is Casino Royale. When I first watched it, I thought Casino Royale was a little bit too long. Like the end of, I thought like, man, this is the ending.
I'll agree with you there. It should have ended more towards where Mickelson Pat dies.
Yeah,
But
but like,
then you don't get the best burst.
that's a problem. So like as I've watched it more and the years have gone along, it's like, man, it's really necessary for what happened after. It's necessary for that movie to be that long. So I've grown to like I've warmed up to it, and that movie being so long, this one all of a sudden was like so short. I don't know. People kind of like they probably the producers probably didn't want a movie that wasn't quite as long, because if there's one thing that people did complain about was the runtime of Casino Royale. And that's one of the only things anyone complained about. So they said, well, let's make them a little bit shorter. But then with the writer's strike and everything, this one, ended up being a hell of a lot shorter. So, I mean, it's extremely. I mean, the runtime of this, I want to look this up real quick, actually, because the runtime of this film is
147, 146.
146. Now,
yep. So I just guessed. Look at that. Because I remember seeing it going.
That was just a guess?
Yeah, I just guessed because I was saying to myself, why? I remember looking at it the other night and saying to myself, this is short. And these movies aren't usually short.
Okay, so Casino Royale is 2 hours, 24 minutes.
Yeah, it's a longer movie.
So 24 and 4 times 30. So it's 38 minutes shorter than Casino Royale.
But it's a continuation. It's like that extra stuff, but it's good stuff here.
Yeah, it's almost like it could be like the Kill Bill movie in a way, where it could be one thing,
excellent example.
1 3.5 hour movie or something like that. You can cram it in, but
that's true.
But yeah, I mean, the runtime doesn't bug me that much. I wish it could have been a little bit longer, like I said, but it's like I said, the characters, the depth of the characters are pretty well developed in this, and it's shot so well. The lighting is just awesome in this film. The cinematography is great. The second unit direction, like I mentioned, second unit director before, I thought did a great job with some establishing shots in this film. Like I said, some of that editing is a little bit shoddy, but other than that, everything else is great. I thought Jesper Christensen was awesome as Mr. White again, the scenes he was in. It's so funny too, like he was just cracking up and he's like being interrogated because he just can't believe that they didn't even know they existed at all. He's talking about how, God, we're worried about CIA, MI6 always looking over our shoulder, and the truth is you don't even know we even exist. So yeah, it was he's a cool character. He's a cool character throughout the whole Craig series. But David Harbour was, pretty awesome. I didn't pay him no mind really when I first watched it. I know who he was. But then
it's kind of cool to see him in the movie.
But actually Tim Pigot Smith, if they pronounce it Pigot, or is it Pigot, I'm not sure how he pronounces it. He actually played the foreign secretary in this, who was kind of like the defense minister in the Roger Moore series you always saw.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's a foreign secretary in like 1 or 2 scenes of this film, and he's actually the same guy who played Creedy in V for Vendetta.
Ooh.
I remember seeing this. I'm like, oh, that's cool. It's the same dude from V for Vendetta. But those are the only people that are really, have substantial roles in the film, because there's just not enough time to get more characters. But that's okay. I don't think it needed any more characters in the film than they already had. Yeah. Otherwise, you're going to start, get this person on the screen, and then this is going to be a bunch of just, cramming a bunch of dialogue to people who don't really have any, effect on the plot whatsoever. But Matthew Almaric, like I said before, was, I think, a cool villain. He was a different villain, but he didn't have a cool henchman, and he kind of a bumbling henchman, and he was kind of a weakling himself. But
I like the way Bond leaves him in the desert.
Yeah, he leaves it with the oil, which I think is kind of. And I heard this on different podcasts and stuff as well. I never put this together, but then I was thinking about this, but it makes sense. It could have been revenge for what he did to Strawberry Fields.
Yeah.
He threw her, he threw the oil to her or to him, and said, "I bet you make 20 miles before you consider drinking that." And then of course at the end, M's like, he had however much motor oil in his stomach. He was shot twice. And do you know anything about that? And of course, Bond's like, "Oh, can't help you. I'm sorry." It's just again, he's just like, "Nope, whatevs." But it is cool how he did catch up with Vesper's. I always put in quotations, ex-boyfriend, and who they were extorting.
Yeah.
And he was trying to do the same thing to that Canadian agent, Corinne, and who says the softest thank you I've ever heard on film. I think you can barely make it out when she's locking the door. She says thank you, like this way, like that, and she leaves. That's her one of her only like 2 lines or words that she utters. And but it's cool how Bonds is sitting in there, kind of like he is in the beginning of Casino Royale when Dryden comes in. He's sitting in there and he walks in, he sees it too. He's like, "Sit down." And before he even get a chance to say anything, he's like, "Sit down." Like he's like,
I know, I like that.
Like he immediately is like, "He's sit the fuck down." And anyway, it's cool. They didn't show him like kill him. They didn't show him interrogate him. They just cut away because the interaction between him and M after that, I thought had a lot more substance to it. And that was what was important. Him moving on from Vesper, M saying, him telling M that she was right. And he asked her if he had, "Do you have any regrets?" And she's like, "No, that wouldn't be professional. This is M being M." Which is why I think it's so cool that the M, like I said, flipped out at the beginning of the movie like she did. Because it was just like so out of character for her. That's the only time you see Judi Dench just kind of like act like that. But yeah. I mean, and every viewing, of that movie, I enjoy it just as much. It's not something I enjoy more or enjoy less. I think it's kind of just stays that same wavelength for me. And yeah, it's not the theater. There's a lot of Bond movies you watch, and then years later you think it's either better or worse for whatever reason. Like this is one of those that kind of just stayed even keel the whole time. So at least for me, it has. I mean, did you see it did you see it at the theater?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did see it in the theater.
So when's the last time you watched it before you just did?
I want to say the theater. I don't think I watched it because I just thought I knew it enough when we talked, but I haven't because it was a different experience this time. And I like watching these movies too with Katie because she's never seen any of them and she likes them. And
it is nice. Like I'm sure when I show Bronwyn these movies, because I think she comes in thinking that she's not going to like them at all, but then, and she might not like the campy ones as much. I don't think she would like the Roger Moore ones or anything as much. Something like this, though, I think with some more substance behind it, she likes better. So that's been cool for her to watch these, and hopefully she'll watch this. I mean, I know she'll watch Skyfall with Inspector and all that stuff with me, but and No Time to Die. But getting her from these films, going back to the Connery ones, the Moore ones, that's gonna be a little bit difficult. Because that's going to be it's one hell of a switch, like one hell of a 180. So I kind of have to explain to her why I like them so much, and hopefully she understands or finds something in them as well. But anyway, some interesting facts about this film. Right. This is the first Bond movie where you actually see James Bond inebriated.
Oh.
When he's drunk on that plane, when he's with Mathis. That's the only time it's ever really, he's been he got poisoned in the last movie, but he was not like inebriated or drunk or anything like that like he was in this one, because he drank all those Vesper Martini cocktails. I mentioned some locations before. This movie is filmed in more locations than any other Bond film. You had the UK, you had Panama, you had Chile, You had scenes in Italy. You had scenes in that were filmed in Mexico. You had some scenes that were filmed in Austria. So that's like 6 different locations that was done for this film. Una Chaplin, Charlie Chaplin's granddaughter, actually played the hotel receptionist at the end of the movie that Madrano was raping or trying to rape when Camille came in. But that's Una Chaplin, who was also, like Rory Kinnear, in an episode of Black Mirror as well. And obviously she was in Game of Thrones. I think she was pregnant when she got murdered at the Red Wedding or whatever it was. I never watched Game of Thrones, but I do know that happened. When Elvis, Green's henchman, gets the card, the business card from Bond, this is Universal Exports on it, and he calls the number. The person who answers the phone is actually Strawberry Fields, Gemma Arterton, who answers the phone. So that was kind of cool. Like, you don't really notice until you actually get like, oh, that's the same voice. This is the only Bond movie that has a foot chase, which is the second chase sequence in the movie, a car chase, which is the beginning, a plane chase, which you saw him and Camille in, and a boat chase in it. So you had vehicular chases, you had a foot chase, and then you had a chase in the air and a chase in the water.
None of the motorcycle too.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can count that. That was kind of a car chase because there was a car and a motorcycle.
Okay.
But either way, the motorcycle led into the boat chase. So, yeah, you had all sorts of different conveyances in this one. Paul Ritter plays a character in this movie named Guy Haynes. He's one of the members of Quantum that gets up and leaves, and Bond takes his picture and everything. That name, Guy Haynes, is the same name of the main character played by Farley Granger in Strangers on a Train by Alfred Hitchcock.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's no way that was an accident. They had to have done it on purpose. And Matthew Almaric portrayed the son of former Bond villain Michael Lonsdale, who played Hugo Drax in Moonraker. He played the son of Drax in Munich.
Ooh.
And who else was in Munich? Daniel Craig was also
Look at that connection.
Look at that connection. So those are some fun facts of the film. And I think people, if they watch this with a bit open mind, think it's not going to be Casino Royale, because it's also sandwiched between the 2 best Craig ones. I mean, the consensus is either a Skyfall person or Casino Royale person as your favorite Craig one. I don't know anybody else who says any of the other 3 of their favorites. It happened to be sandwiched in between them. So
can't wait to hear your thoughts on the Billie Eilish song.
In fact, I think this song is better than the Billie Eilish song.
But, well, you better say that.
Yeah, it is. But it's definitely better than the Sam Smith, the Spectre one. Whatever. But yeah, it kind of sucks. This was basically the hamburger to the Skyfall and Casino Royale buns. So it was in between 2 really good ones, and I don't think it quite gets the recognition it should. No. But I bet if people go back and watch it a few times and look for some of these things, and look for some of these cool shots and the great lighting and the cinematography in this, they'll be a little more impressed. And this, the characters themselves, I said, besides Strawberry Fields, there's, it's just, they're really fleshed out. They're fleshed out very well. Most of them are. So I think people should give it another shot.
Give it a shot. Check it out. Thank you so much, everyone out there, for joining us tonight. That was us digging into Quantum of Solace. I almost call it Solace, but it's Solace, right? Solace, I got it right.
Or All
right. And next week we will be taking off because it is opening day next Thursday, and we do celebrate here in this environment. So please watch your favorite baseball teams, and we will be back shortly to talk. The next film, as Adam says, is one of the beacons of the James Bond series, Skyfall. Cannot wait to dig into that. Go back and check out the last couple episodes of At the Show and the Hookup on Music. Go to the SadisticPenguinStudios.com and read Adam's awesome article on Peaky Blinders, which will be dropping tomorrow on Netflix. So watch the movie on Netflix, then read his article because it's going to be really cool. All right, everyone out there, take care, and we will be talking soon, everyone. Good night.
Bye.